Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Stacy Sloan with Keller Williams Elite Realty, proudly serving the Durham and Triangle area for 25 years. Call Stacy at 919-972-1180. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Rachel Z with Rachel Z Real Estate Team Realty. From the Triangle to the Triad, call Rachel Z at 919-323-6068. All right, welcome everybody. We made it to the big 100. Here we are, episode 100 of the Orange Hammer. I got Andrew in the house from Apex Energy, or no, it's Apex Energy Solutions. That's right, correct. Okay, yep. Apex Energy Solutions. We're both in the same networking group, the what do they call it? The mastermind? I think so. The M3 or whatever. I don't know. It's in my calendar all the time. Yep. And I guess it's Connor Lowe who's really kind of organizing that. Yeah, I feel like he's the mastermind behind it. He's the mastermind behind the right. Just pull it in. Yeah, just closer. Slide it in. There we go. So we got him to thank for putting us together. I mean, basically, we're competitors, but we're both far enough along in our careers to realize that competition happened at the bottom. Right. And now where we are in our careers, there's enough to go around, man. Oh, yeah. And even though we're in the same world, we're different enough that, honestly, we're not getting even calls from the same clients. Right. Yeah, I wouldn't really expect it. Yeah, exactly. And you'll obviously detail more y'all's services in entirety, but you're more pull and replace than the new construction side of things. 100%. Yeah, so that's where, like, I'm going to be the one that somebody gets the phone call for a new construction. Not that I haven't gotten pull and replace and have done it all the time, but that's like y'all's specialty. Exactly. Like, that's your jam. Mm-hmm. Willie Bear, the studio dog, is coming to say hi. So backing up as far as you want to go, what were you doing before this, and how'd you get into this?
Yeah, great question. So I grew up in a family, to kind of go all the way back, that everybody in my family was a blue collar construction worker at some point in my childhood. growing up. So I had a ton of interest in that already and loved to build things and, do this, that, or the other, when it comes to homes or, building forts or, anything of that as a kid. But, I'd always wanted to go to the Army. So that was initially the first thing I did as soon as I got out of high school. So I did that for 4 years, got out, and, as a part of my transition, wanted to get in to the construction industry. And so got an opportunity to join a HVAC company.
Okay.
Did that for about 2 years, and I had done work in the HVAC industry in high school. So it was an easy, transition to go back to. And, did that for a little while, had some issues with the company. As a whole, installation was the worst part. And so they just weren't installing it and delivering what I was out there selling in the field as a salesman with that company. And so, decided to part ways from that company. And this is in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I was born and raised. And then found Apex, just applying on LinkedIn with a quick apply, and got a call and, got the opportunity to join the team. And really the thing that, made me choose Apex over, other companies was, one, having a high quality product. For me being, in that sales, position, felt like that was important to kind of have a leg up on my competition. But the installation was really next level, kind of seeing our reviews and seeing how the process went, and knew that was critical for repeat business. And so, I was confident I could sell, whatever I needed to. But, having that back end stuff correct was so critical. And so just got that start with Apex. And once I found out you could open, your own market, through there, like earn that opportunity, it was really just, head down, get to work from there.
So who came up with the name? Because you're fooling everybody thinking you're a solar company, and you don't even do roofs. I'm confused as to the name. Like Apex Window Solutions, that would make sense. Mm-hmm. But like Apex Energy Solutions sounds like a solar company.
Yeah, and we get that a ton. It's funny you say that. Every time I post a job on, Indeed or, something of that nature, I get a ton of applicants thinking we're solar. But we were set out, we were founded by a gentleman who really just had a unique perspective of the industry. And one of the things that really sets us apart from all of our competition is that we don't do a good, better, best, like level of quality. We don't have that, offering. We've only offered triple pane window systems since 1998 when our doors started.
So you just have one window you sell?
Yeah, like one line. So we have, a full suite of products from casements to sliders to double hungs to, this, that, and the other, all your specialty shapes. So we're full suite there. But yeah, we don't believe in offering mid or low quality windows, specifically, because it's not a permanent solution. The benefit, generally doesn't, make sense to how expensive, these entry-level products are. And so, we're not there to just replace windows. We're there to provide like a whole home solution from an efficiency standpoint. And so that's where the energy comes from. And Apex actually has nothing to do with the town, Apex too. So we get that, confused a lot. But Apex just kind of means the peak or the top. And
I just assumed y'all were founded in Apex.
Nope. Yeah. Founded in Indianapolis, Indiana. We operate in 25, different cities across the United States. So it's a large national company that really helps, maintain a local feel to it. So we don't, run our office here, really like a corporate, window company like your Anderson or your Pella's, like your big, national companies. But we have the buying power of a big national, buying, a brand like that. So we're able to offer a premium product below.
Who are you offering? What's your window company?
So we manufacture it ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we do everything top to bottom. They're manufactured over in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we actually, where it's manufactured at is Champion's old warehouse, our old manufacturing facility.
Can somebody buy those windows without you guys? Like you can't just like order the window.
You cannot.
Okay.
No. So it's not sold to, to the public. It's just offered directly to us.
Okay. And so like, could you sell windows to, like, for example, if somebody called you and was just like, okay, I love your windows, but I don't have the budget to do the install. Can you guys just sell me the windows, void the warranties, and I'll install my own windows? Or are you guys just like not
We
interested?
technically could, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we, in terms of the warranties in our name, like we're, really focused on the long term. And so we don't want someone, just slapping our windows in and then saying, oh, like these Apex windows, they didn't, perform, or this, that, or the other, and it not be on us. Right. And so we don't want that negative, information or press or idea about us, getting out there. And so.
Gotcha. And so how do you, I guess you don't convince, you've just said no to a whole clientele.
Correct.
Yeah. You're just like, we're not interested.
That's not our, that's not our business model. That's not why we operate. And I think that's why we've been able to be as successful as we are, is that we've really always kind of stayed in our lane in terms of what we were great at, and tried to be great at one thing for 25 years. And so, we've recently, added a little bit to that. We brought in entry doors, back in 2018 or so. We used to just do like your sliding glass doors, typical of those. But now we've got a full suite of entry doors, and those we don't manufacture ourselves. It's through Provia. Have you heard of Provia before? So we're one of their leading dealers, here in the Triangle, for Provia. And then we're also going to be adding, siding here too. And that's mainly just for the ability to better serve our customers. A lot of our customers like to get, windows and siding done at the same time. And we see, a lot of people want to do that. And we used to do siding back in like 2005 to 2012, I think is when they stopped. But they just didn't really love the product back then. They did a lot of, vinyl sided, like insulated vinyl siding, and just didn't really align with who we were. And so nationally, we were approved last year for ABC Supply to do their hardy plank.
I was just gonna say, now just do hardy.
Exactly.
You can't screw that up.
Exactly. And so
that'll outlast the framing.
Right. And so now that we can have that, the high quality, hardy plank that we can match with windows and be a premium product, we're really excited, just about the future, because we've already got a huge, book of business here in the Triangle since 2019. And so, we now have the ability to go back, to, all those customers and let them know, hey, we're doing siding too. If you guys are ready, just give us a call. Let us, take care of it.
And you guys have like, how do you guys operate in that world? Like, you just have like a mass, I don't know, customer email that you'll just like shoot out with some flyer at some point and be like, hey, we're cider operators now.
Yeah. We've not really figured out the logistics on that.
Okay.
Because we've got all of our data in our own CRM. So that's another thing too with our company, just doing everything in-house. Like, we have our own tech team. So they created this whole CRM that's explicitly for us. It's not sold to other people. So it's just really geared, to our business, which helps us, operate it. So we have all the customers' information in there, and you can pull it really easily and go over notes on, customers. So, ideally, a personal phone call. So I've kind of talked to my sales team, and one of the ideas that I've put out is, and we can kind of talk about, the sales and everything like that if you want to get into that, but just kind of creating like a, an inside sales position that's, kind of optional for some of my sales team to see if, we can kind of find ways to get them paid more, get them more, income, more opportunities, and just print off lists of all these customers, having installed, or even the ones that said no, right? Calling all our no sales, calling all of our, canceled appointments, because, maybe they decided they didn't want to work with us because we don't do windows and siding at the same time. And that's the way they wanted to get it done. And so, just kind of go down that list and, talk to everybody that we can and let them know about the, the additional services that we provide.
Yeah. And so you've got all window like styles or whatever.
Yep.
You're using just the one brand. You're brought in, we already had sliders, brought in front doors, bringing in siding. So really, as far as the outside of the house, with the exception of, I guess, like roofing and gutters, you guys are kind of morphing into a one-stop shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well,
home exterior
only if
solutions.
somebody only wants high end.
Correct.
Yeah. Like most of my customers would laugh probably at your numbers because they would be like, well, I wanted a regular vinyl window, and you guys don't do that. What are your windows? Are they aluminum clad and then they're
they're
wood
vinyl.
sashes?
No, they're vinyl. Yeah. And so that's where, and then that's why we do what we do. Because
So you're still selling a vinyl window, but it's at the high-end cost?
Well, so no, we have a high-end vinyl window that we're offering right near the same rate that you'd see, your entry-level companies.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So not just triple pane, but they're foam insulated, they're fiberglass reinforced. They also have double chambers of argon. So there's 2 full chambers of argon gas, and then it's got
by definition, you just said triple pane. So
right. Well, some people don't fill that second pane, so they only do 1 chamber full. So not just because there's 2. So they'll do 1 oxygen, 1 argon to save cost, and they'll only do a 60-40 fill. So each chamber will only be 4.
I guess I've never used a shitty window company like that because the Marvins are definitely
Marvins are going to have, they're both.
Yeah, same with Pella. They're both argon.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, if you use
so are you comparing to, like, I don't know, the box store, like a Home Depot window that doesn't have the argon?
Home Depot sells I mean, it's all options. So they can sell it however they want. So but like I've never even seen a triple pane window at, Lowe's or Home Depot. But
I don't buy windows from them, so I don't know.
Yeah,
customers ask me all the time, and I'm just like, if you're not buying your windows from Talbert's Lumber Supply, you're getting ripped off, or you're getting like an inferior product. But that's also like, Talbert's doesn't make windows; they just carry the 4 best window companies that have been around for, I don't know, longer than I've been alive. And I'll just be like, go talk to Stacy. He's the master, and he'll walk you through the Mac Daddy BMW, all the way down to the Kia of windows, and pick based on your budget is usually what I tell people.
What you tell people,
yeah, because for me, like, labor cost is usually, it doesn't change,
right?
So like my guy Ray, who's gonna swap out the window, he really just needs to know, like, do you need wood trim on the inside and the outside, or just the outside? Like, that's really all he needs to know. He's like, just give me the window. So I usually like to let the customers go get the education as close as you can get to the installer, or to the manufacturer, excuse me, and just be like, get it straight from the horse's mouth, and then this is what the labor will cost. Yeah.
What Marvin product do you use?
It varies. I think I just priced for my own home their 900 series, which is, I mean, you can tell by the cost, they are great windows, but damn if they're not expensive, man. Yeah.
What features do they have to them?
I'm not going to be able to remember it off the top of my head. I know that these are wood sashes, and then everything else is aluminum. And that's probably the only thing I can remember off the top of my head. I kind of inherited 3 windows from my parents, actually. They bought these extra windows, and they were special order, so they can't return them. And they're Marvin 900 series, and they're amazing, and they're black. And I was like, I'm just building my own house, and I was like, I got an idea. Why don't we make the drawings match these existing windows, and I'll just not order 2 and put these. I have a shipping container on the land that I was like, I'll just put them. It was actually my dad's idea.
Oh, nice.
And then like 2 weeks later, he was like, I got a 3rd one for you. It's a little tiny transom something. I was like, okay, well, let's put 3 transoms somewhere. I'll order 2 more. Like, we just kind of like figured it out. So it was a little bit of like, well, you own these. Do we want to throw them away, these $900 each windows, or do you want to work? I was like, let's just work them in. So if I didn't own them, I'm not 100% sure that I would still get them.
Right.
It would definitely be like something I would explore. I probably would not go with a wood sash. They are in a historical part of Durham, and they actually are supposed to have all solid windows, like even the frame.
Oh, yeah.
And they ordered these wood window and metal frame, and their neighbor made a stink to the historical department. And then we went and had like a hearing, and we were like, the window is wood. We got a metal frame. We're putting in like the highest quality window. I was like, and they were like, okay, we have to think about it or whatever. And then we helped them. We helped them make their decision by being like, look, the only all wood windows we can find are 4 times the price and take 12 weeks to get here. Right. So like, do you really want this project to just stop for 12 weeks, or can we use these really, really good, still technically wood window? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So, there's a lot of that backstory that definitely helped me make my window decision. Right. But if like I was just doing the full Rolls Royce and I didn't care like about budget, and I didn't care really. I just was like, okay, how good and how long will this window last? I would probably want a vinyl sash, an aluminum, everything else, and I would probably or vinyl, honestly, either one. I mean,
I was gonna say I've not seen any aluminum clad vinyl, like clad over the top of vinyl.
No,
I've never seen it. So it could be out there.
It might not be out there. I might be. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've seen vinyl clad where there's like the vinyl clad over the wood, so you've got the vinyl outside. But yeah, that's the reason why we don't do clad, because I know a lot of people really like clad. I've not really experienced it a ton down here, but where I was at in Indiana, most of your wood clad products are going to start rotting in about 15 years.
Yeah, and you guys have a much more aggressive like season. Like your winters are more aggressive.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely like at least with mine, only thing wood will be the sash. So if, there's proper paint upkeep and like maintenance on it, I think I get 20 years out of it. Right. But that's North Carolina weather is not the same as that's a different beast.
Yeah, and the biggest thing beyond like the cold weather I'd look out for with like aluminum cladding is direct sun.
Yeah,
because that aluminum sitting there baking, in the sun, aluminum would expand and contract at different rates.
Oh yeah,
which is really your biggest issue with aluminum clad. Because in Indiana that cladding would peel off, and as soon as you get a little break in that, that solvent or whatever, is keeping it up to the glass or the glazing, it's going to start working its way behind there, and it gets trapped, which is even worse. If that water can flow out, it's fine. Yeah. But it gets trapped, and it gets stuck behind there, and then that heat and that aluminum keeping it trapped there accelerates that wood rot. Yeah. And so, again, for us, just trying to only offer permanent solutions, like things that you're never going to have to touch ever again.
Yeah. And I know for listeners especially, like there's one thing, like, I'm not too worried, honestly, about like the sun hitting my wood sashes, even though you just said like it's probably going to break. Like I'm not too worried about it, but I would be way more worried about it if I had a neighbor 12 feet away with a bank of windows reflecting.
Oh yeah.
Because I've gone to houses that look like they've had a fire because of the reflection of their neighbor's windows. I've seen it. It's crazy, man. Especially if the house has vinyl siding. Not the window necessarily, but the siding. I've seen it just like melt off. And it's like, what? Like, who do you even blame? I don't even know. Like, it's a crazy, crazy thing. Like, I know
developers for putting the houses so close.
I mean, I guess so. Like, like that's a good joke, but at the same time, should it not be the building department? Like, if the building department approved house A and approved house B, and the windows are marked on both houses, obviously if house A got there first, okay, but you got to go back to house B during their planning and permit phase and be like, you can't put these types of windows there, or like you're gonna or you gotta like get I'm gonna melt my neighbor's policy from your insurance company. I don't even know if that's a thing, you know what I mean? But it's like,
I wonder if insurance would take care of that.
I don't, whose fault is it? That's, again, it's like the same question. So
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know, is it, I honestly don't know, because it's not like the sun wasn't there last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, we know how that operates.
Right.
And, you know, I don't even know. Would it be the person whose house melted? Would it be their insurance company, or would it be the person who the sun reflect off of their house and melted their neighbor's house? Would it be their insurance company? Like, I don't even know.
Well, and their insurance company, I mean, they're going to say, well, I didn't know my windows were going to, like, they were built with these windows. What do you mean?
Right.
Now, I've had customers asking me, like, hey, is it going to be an issue for, you know, my neighbor's house? You know, I've heard this, that, or the other, and not, you know, coming across it, you know, it's resounding, you know, 99% of the time, it's not going to be a problem. But we have had one case where it was actually burning his neighbor's grass.
You gotta imagine, people, like, that's an insane amount of energy.
Yeah.
Grass is alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, you know, kind of fall, kind of like dead grass, but it wasn't burning it, but it was changing the color of his grass. And so we went out and added an exterior piece of tent for him that fixed that exact problem.
Right.
No charge.
Yeah.
And so having you know, if you do get them replaced, you know, then you could have that company to go, you know, talk to say, hey, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And if they're a good company, they're going to help you, you know, find a solution. And if they're not, they're going to tell you, you know, sorry, figure it out.
Right. But like, imagine the people who needed that tent went on a week vacation, and they come back after a week vacation, and the reflection of their windows burnt their neighbor's house to the ground. Right. You sure, you guys could go throw some extra tint on that, but like, you're now gonna, like, oh, we realize this is our kind of fault, let's throw some tint on the windows. You just admitted fault. You're gonna replace that house? Probably not.
Right.
Yeah. So like, again, it's there should be some thought on that when you know, these builders go and they build these monstrosity cul-de-sacs, you know, with a house every 18 inches. And it's like, you know, I get it. Like, it's all about the dollar, but there is a moment where it's like, is that the smart move though? At least like adjust the orientation of the house or something or another, like pay it, you know.
Right. And they have to have the tinting on the windows that we, you know, put from the manufacturer to keep up with Energy Star guidelines.
Yeah.
So it's like, not like we're putting an intentional low E coating on there too.
Right.
You know, we have the top of the line low E coating that you can get. It's a combination of a titanium oxide and a silver dioxide. So we actually block 98.4% of infrared and UV rays. So like, literally it could be 100 degrees. You could be standing in front of west facing sun, and on the inside of the house, you're not going to feel anything coming through that glass. And so it's all that energy you talked about. It's just getting reflected out rather than, you know, coming into the house, fading your carpets, your floors, your furniture, things of that nature.
Yeah. But then you're not getting any of that heat.
Well, that's the thing. So in the winter, you want the heat, right? And so with our low E, it's called Solar Band 60. It was actually pioneered by Pittsburgh Plate Glass, PPG. They, you know, sold all their glass patents off to Cardinal and Vitro, who are the two big glass makers. But it's called spectrally selective glazing. So in the winter, due to our sun angle being lower, and it's actually a little bit closer to Earth, it naturally allows the infrared rays through.
Huh. Wow.
And so, but blocks the UV. So the fading's gone, but you still get that natural heat. And so, do you know the U factor of the 900 series window you bought? Or is it readily available?
I could probably look it up after the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, because I've not.
I know they're not Energy Star, because I asked him and I was like, are these the best windows efficiency wise? And he was like, they're not. These are like, if you want to match the ones you already own, this is like, this is like, you know, we're going to save you $2,300 because you already own these 3 windows, and spend like $7,500 for the window package.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. Like, but like, you know, I sit here knowing they're not triple paned, you know, but they're not going to get me the Energy Star
tax credit
star. But to be honest, I don't think I was going to get that tax credit anyway. But for the box that I'm building though, like you're gonna struggle to find a more efficient box. Like I'm building a slab on grade with integrated floor heating.
Love that.
With rigid foam board underneath the cement. My HVAC is inside the envelope because I have a massive mechanical room and no attic. And I'm doing 2x6 walls with spray foam. And my roof framing is special order TGI beams that are 14 inches thick. So when they spray foam the roof deck, they won't trim anything. So they'll get the full 5, almost 6 inches of spray foam.
That's what's up.
So as far as efficiency goes, the Marvin 900s will be the weakest point. So that's a pretty efficient home. And I'm sure you know all about moisture and the house needing to breathe through the windows anyway. So I'm kind of okay with the little bit of breath the 900s will give me.
Right.
I think it'll last, I'm not going to have kids. There's no one to leave this house to. If, like I said, if I make sure my wood sashes are painted every 15 years, they should last. I'm not too worried.
Right. Yeah.
And then my siding's going to be
yourself, right? Or having your guy.
Yeah, I'm installing them myself. And then also my siding's going to be metal.
Curious to hear, what did they say about the warranties when your guys install them?
Well, I'm a licensed GC, so there's no questions on that.
There's no questions on that. Okay. Because we've heard horror stories in the past, from customers who've gone with Pella, gone with Anderson, and can never get the manufacturer to come out to service their warranties. Because obviously you're a licensed general contractor, so when you have a problem, you have to call the manufacturer, right? You have to do the claim on the manufacturer. And we've just heard night and day problems with either one, getting them to come out and look. No, not specifically Marvin, but just your two big ones, your Pella and Andersons. And then recall earlier in the conversation you're talking about Talbert Supply having your 4 major brands. And that's, one of the things that we really try to separate ourselves from, the 4 major brands. Yeah. And so, yours is a little different, given you're a contractor, you're not buying from window dealers.
Honestly, that's my safety net is Talbert's. Right. Because they're years in business, and their relationship with Marvin, what in this case it's Marvin, but pick a brand, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, whoever they carry.
Let's use me for example, because I'm sitting in front of you. But if I really had a problem and I pop off the trim and I do my inspection of it and I'm like, this is not an install problem, this is the window. Right. I'm just going to call my lady at Talbert's, who's going to forward me right to Stacy, who's the head of the window department. And I'm going to be like, you're coming out, and he will come out. There you go. And then he will either be like, you screwed up this tape or whatever it may be. And I'll be like, shit, I didn't see that. Yep. Order me a new window on my dime and let's get this done tomorrow. Yep. Or he's going to be like, okay, your install is correct. And yep, there's the manufacturer's defect. Or maybe he can't see it that clearly, but he'll be able to honestly tell me you screwed up or it's a manufacturer's defect. And then he's going to call Marvin or Pella or whatever. Okay. And so I feel like, and knock on wood, I have yet to have this happen. I have yet to throw in a window for a client or any of my rental properties that is having a leak or needs to be replaced or, anything like that. So, I may not be the only top shelf you guys do, but my quality control is top notch and we haven't had any problems. But, it's going to happen. I'm not a magician. But that's my added security. Now, as for a customer, you're going to call me and I'm going to have to deal with all this. Right. So it's not like I'm just going to not answer the phone and then text you a number for Talbert's and be like, have fun calling Marvin, Right. Yep. But that is the difference between John Doe, who orders windows directly himself from Marvin and then hires me, or God forbid, a non-licensed GC, just a siding dude who throws them in. And then you have no license to even fight the state against. You have no recourse. And Marvin's going to immediately go, who did you use for an install? Not a licensed professional. We're not, sorry.
Yeah. So I've ran into that a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I had my contractor, throw them in.
Yeah.
And it's like,
what's your contractor's license?
Yeah,
he
like,
doesn't have one.
What's his name? Like what? Yeah. And they just have, all these issues, and they don't know what type of window it is, what type of warranty it has, and just so much unknown. And yeah, I mean, like we said, we're competitors, but there's so much out there.
Yeah, but also we are competitors, but we're only competitors in that we could do the same thing. Exactly. In reality, like, we're above all the other people we would call competitors because our priority is the quality control.
Exactly.
And it's just like there's people who don't have that priority. And I'm not even shitting on those people.
No.
You're allowed to have other priorities. Your priority could be, I need to hit this growth by this day, and nothing else matters. Your priority could be, I need to make X amount of money this particular month because I've got a family vacation. Your priority could be, how many jobs could I get? Right? That's fine. Like, people run their business how they want to run their business.
Yep.
But things come around, and one thing that doesn't come around in a negative way is good quality. Right. If anything, you will slowly get more and more customers because of the fact that your quality has lasted, just because, I'd rather do Windows once and them not call me for 20 years until they're ready to do Windows again, rather than do them every 5 years. Like that, if you're replacing your Windows every 5 years, you're hired the wrong guy.
Yep.
Like, end of story.
Oh, yeah.
And that money could have been spent drilling a couple holes through your siding and pumping in, more insulation, because you could spend $1 bajillion from me or you on Windows. That's not changing your house insulation. Just FYI, everybody. It's not changing your envelope. You didn't upgrade. You didn't pull the sheetrock off and put in better insulation. You didn't add spray foam. You didn't insulate the roof deck. You didn't add a better vapor barrier or spray foam the crawl space. Like, windows are a huge part, but they are only one part. Like, exactly. That is very clear.
Yeah.
So, that's, and that, and there, FYI, most people don't know, you're going to laugh because you do this every day, but most people don't know, windows are supposed to let in air. It's supposed to breathe. Your house is supposed to breathe. If your house was 100% airtight all the time, you would have the biggest moisture problem in the world, because you are constantly expelling moisture as you talk, as you breathe, as you run the water, as you take a shower, as your dog does anything. So your house needs to have ventilation. And if you're building a house like I just described that I'm building for myself, the ventilation is only the windows seals, the door seals, and the bathroom fans. Right. So that has to be factored in. You can't have a flawlessly sealed house. It's not a lab. You have to factor that in. A lot of homeowners just don't know that, though.
Right.
They think, like, I need the best window that's airtight and I better not see any condensation or feel any drag. It's like, actually, all those things in the right amount are correct. You just need to know the correct amounts. And that goes back to you only being a sales guy, going in front of homeowners and actually educating them about this stuff, and exactly what we're doing here.
Right.
So maybe, in fact, we could break some of those down. So, like, a big one is the condensation. A lot of people
on the inside of the glass.
Yeah, a lot of people, even me, 11 years ago, would see that and incorrectly be like, I need new windows. Something's wrong.
Well, I would say that if your windows are condensating on the inside, I would suggest that you need new windows. I would never say, like, yes, it's breathing, that's a good thing, and that's for my customers, because generally if I'm in a house, the house is older than 10 to 15 years old. Okay,
that is a good point, that you're dealing with slightly older homes. But what about just a little bit of buildup on the outside? That's relatively normal, not the inside.
Yeah, condensation on the outside is actually a sign, and a lot of people have this misconstrued, but it's a sign that your energy efficient windows are working, that they're actually doing what they're supposed to, and that's because that outside pane of glass doesn't get so hot, because the heat from your house isn't traveling to the outside.
So it's
glass
hitting
cold.
It's hitting the first pane.
Yep.
It's hitting the argon. If it's you, it's hitting that middle pane.
Yep.
More argon, and it's cooled enough before you get to that outside pane that condensation is actually a green check mark where this is working.
This is working, right? Because that glass absorbs that low E, that heat from the sun. That low E does. So the glass gets hot. and it doesn't. And then so as your cool air drops, and it happens more in or low humidity. So when you actually have the dew point higher than the humidity, and that's when that starts.
I don't think there's a bigger misconception from people who are not in this world, aka the homeowner, about when you see the dew or condensation. Pick your term; it's irrelevant. On the outside, I was wrong. You know, when I first bought my house, this one right here, and these are not like high energy efficient windows or whatever, but like living room, woke up one day, a little bit on the outside, I freaked out. Yeah. I was like, oh no, I need all new windows. I just bought this house. I haven't started my company, all this shit. Incorrect. Just false. Just complete opposite. In fact, this house, it's not even at the time, wasn't even like 10 years old. It's working great. Like it's the opposite. So it's just, I misspoke earlier when I said on the inside, like that's just leaking.
Right. That means the glass is super cold on the inside.
Yeah. So. If you're that's just water leaking into your house. Yeah. You might as well drill a hole in the siding.
Yeah. Cause it gets on your sills. It ruins your sills, and it can get down into your wall cavity. And if that happens, you've got big problems.
Yeah. And those kind of problems usually are not big at first, but the thing is they go unnoticed.
Yeah.
You get that tiny bit of
just
water
pushed to the side, right?
Yeah.
Life's busy for everybody. And just this pops up, that pops up, kids, school, all of that gets in the way, and they know it's there, but they just keep pushing it off. And actually my biggest problem with moisture on the inside of the glass is mold.
Yeah.
Most people leave their blinds closed, leave their curtains drawn, or, year round.
I feel very attacked.
Yeah, it's okay. You've got newer windows, but it's with these old wood windows, there's so much draft getting, brought in there, and then it gets just trapped behind there. And so when I'm going into, people's homes and lifting up the, the blinds to measure their windows, they're like, oh my God, like I didn't know I had mold up there. And it's like, how's that happening? It's like, well, because these are leaking like a sieve. Yeah. They're allowing, all that cold air, and then it's getting trapped, and then it's, getting warm, from the air in your house, and it's, starting to, build that mold up there. And
I mean, water is the enemy. I've said it probably 5,000 times on this podcast, but like in all forms, in any location other than in your sink, water's the enemy. Like it's causing some sort of problem, and it's either rotting or making something shift, or both. And both, you don't want either one of those things when we're talking about home construction, especially windows, because when it comes to a window, I mean, it unfortunately, and this has nothing to do with you, me, Pella, Marvin, this is across the board. When it comes to windows, they are finicky, and the tiniest amount of movement in your home, they're not going to operate, versus like a door. It'll start to rub, but you can still like slam it or whatever. Windows will just not go. They'll just stop, and they're more finicky than a door, I would say, and they're harder to repair. Most of the time, it's replace. Because that most people are not like aware of the inner workings of an install, but like your window. It might be slightly different in your world, but if you're doing new construction, your window has this giant, like 3-inch white fin around it, and it has these holes. And the nailing fin sometimes is what we call it. And if you're really cutting corners, you're hitting that with like a roofing nailer. If you're getting install from me, we're throwing screws in it. And that means it's going to move if the wall moves. Like if the studs on the left don't move and the studs on the right start to sink because the footer started to move because water's getting in there, guess what? The window's not just going to ignore the being attached with screws. It's going to start to go. And it doesn't take much. And especially, all these materials are not super strong. We don't do any structural stuff with aluminum or with aluminum clad, it's real thin. It's like tiny sheet metal, right? Or vinyl. Like this is not a structural thing. This is not a 6x6 post that's like maybe designed to handle a little bit of stress. Like this is fucking plastic. Right. Like at the end of the day, you use really good plastic, but this is plastic, guys. Like think of the case on your phone. It's a piece of shit.
Well, and that's why we fiberglass reinforce ours, and all the sashes and sash frames are insulated with a closed cell foam insulation, so like the spray foam that you use.
Yeah,
so
and the closed cell doesn't have, it's better against the moisture.
Yeah, I
than
mean,
the open.
it has there's no air pockets in there, anything of that nature, so it's not going to shrink, it's not going to dissipate, and it adds structural integrity too. I mean, all that vinyl is now attached, to foam. And so, like, if you pick up our samples, they're heavy.
They're heavy,
They're heavy. And people are like, what do you got in here? And he's like, it is just a window, I promise. But yeah, having the fiberglass reinforcement across the sash line is huge in making sure that it opens and closes 30 years from now just as easy as it did day one.
Yeah, I mean,
especially on this clay around here that these houses are built on.
Well, Carolina clay is for real. Yeah,
I mean,
it
every
scares
house I
me.
go into, they've got shifting and settling somewhere.
Yeah.
There's things out of square.
It scares me building a slab on grade. Honestly, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I really want it, but I'm like, 30 years from now, that radiant heated floor is just not going to be working anymore. Like something's going to shift and something's going to crack, and I'm like,
that would be a nightmare.
I mean, it's probably going to happen. Honestly, I'm going to do everything I can, every trick in the book.
Yeah.
I'm
doing
gonna
a perimeter drain on the outside and getting all that
I've already
water
priced it, bro.
Nice.
Already priced. So on my land, and I'll if you got time, I'll show you the plans afterwards because I have like a 15-page book of plans. But you could see like the build site, and there's a huge pond that I own. Well, me and 2 other people own, but I've already got my foundation, dudes.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this is the foundation, footers, whatever. And then my waterproofing guys, I was like, okay, so what would you recommend? And they gave me like their recommendation. And I was like, okay, now I want you to price this. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I want you to do a drain all the way around it. Mm-hmm. And where they both meet basically around the front door, add 120 feet of pipe and trenching to get to the pond and run it all to daylight. And then on top of that, I want you to do a solid pipe that does the exact same pathway, but then is hooked up to my gutter downspouts. So I was like, there's just will be no water in my crawl space, like, or in my
vicinity.
In my vicinity. I was like, and then I was like, and then I want you to fill it all the way up with gravel. No 3 inches of dirt, just gravel with a little barrier. So if any water, gravel, no path, no absorption, no soaking of dirt. No, I was like, we're gonna have 16 inches from my house to a little wood barrier. Mm-hmm. I did it with my did you park on the driveway or the gravel?
The little gravel.
Yeah, so you maybe didn't notice, but on the left, like obviously the right is concrete driveway, but on the left, there's a wood barrier, and that is a standard decking board turned on its side like this.
Okay.
And it just gravel flush, dirt flush on the one side.
Nice.
So that allows you, by using that, very cheap, a deck board,
right? And
you can just connect it with 2 scraps of deck board and make it an inch lower with screws, and almost like a stake, like you're doing a foundation footer or a foundation frame up.
Yeah.
And so if you do that all the way around the house, you have this nice, clean gravel line and just no drainage problems. And then also I have like 6-inch gutters, 3 downspouts instead of 2. I have 1 single sloping shed roof, so only 1 stretch of gutter along the back.
Okay.
And then within like 300 feet, there's no trees, no roots of any kind. It's a grass field.
Love that.
So I'm trying like everything I can think of to really mitigate the movement. And even with everything I just said, I'm still worried.
I would be too.
Yeah, I'm still worried. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I give you permission. Shit on my 900s. What should I get? Because I can't buy. You won't sell me yours, so I can't buy them from you.
I'm not going to shit on the 900s.
Unless you will sell me some windows, then we can talk. Maybe off the air.
I mean, I could talk about my guys, doing the install at no cost.
At no cost?
At no cost. Yeah. So
well,
I could absorb it, and we could.
Because I'm going to do my install at no cost to me because I could just do it. But I mean, if you're going to install them for free, We could talk. I'll let you film it
Yeah.
for the website.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not in control of the national website, but hey, it's all right.
Yeah, but that local one,
Yeah,
local
we
Instagram.
don't really have an Instagram. So that's the one of
There
the
you
things
go.
we need to start doing is doing social media. We don't do anything on social media whatsoever. So,
Well, it sounds like you don't need to, or you guys are busy.
well, I mean, yeah, we're busy. We don't need to, but we always are. We do have eyes, for growth, and we could, do more and serve more. So,
Like for me, I am way too free for how much I want to work.
right.
And it's like, I'm contemplating lead generation, like all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's different worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different worlds.
Mhm.
It is very interesting though that by choice you guys have just like said no to an entire demographic, because I mean there's probably like especially in certain parts of Durham,
Mhm.
like it would be a laugh of a conversation when you gave a number to some houses
Right.
when they're thinking of like the cost of a Lowe's window or a home, and I mean like the lowest end at Lowe's, not whatever's competitive. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Well, and for us, that again, it kind of ties back to being a master of one versus, kind of a jack of all trades. And so, with that, just having our ideal customer, right?
And are you guys licensed contractors?
We are.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, we have, in terms of the approach, we could go, sell to, those lower, size home or like, lower valued homes where they're not, looking for, high valued, items, things of that nature. But we really feel like with how our company's set up, we're jumping over dollars to pick up pennies in that, in that regard, because our average customer replaces about 25 windows at once. So they're doing the whole house.
Yeah, that's a big project.
And so we're not just going and doing 1 windows here, 2 windows there, 3 windows there. In fact, we have an 8-unit minimum. So if they're not looking to do at least 8 windows, I'm probably not even going to drive out there.
Yeah, give them to me.
Right. I can do that.
I'll do the 2 windows. Yeah. Because for
and
me, there's no job too small,
Right.
And I could I could do the 25 window house, but let's be honest, you guys will do it more efficiently.
In one day.
Yeah. Like that's just, and that's not it. And Ray, if you're listening, which I know you aren't, I'm not shitting on you. It's just the reality of like, that's all they do. When they show their tools are only for that. Like Ray shows up and his van, he could frame you a house, replace windows, work on a crawl space, build you a deck. Like he can do it all. Side the house. Like you need a Hardy plank sub. I got you. Like Ray's the man. But like at the same time, he's doing a deck Wednesday. He's doing windows Thursday. He's framing a house Friday. He's siding the next week, and he needs all those tools to be prepared for that.
Yep.
And he's probably just as skillful as your crew, but it's a different mentality. Your crew is like, we are the window guys. We are like Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas. There is nothing outside of this chocolate factory. We're doing windows. End of conversation. Maybe a sliding door. Between you and me, that's the same thing. It just happens to be at the ground level.
It's just bigger. Yeah.
It's just bigger.
And that's why we've always done them.
Yeah,
because
you waterproof the same way. You tape it correctly. You flash it correctly. You silicone all 3 sides and not the bottom. And let the water come out. Like this is a stand. This is nothing changed. It just got bigger and it's a little lower.
Yep.
Yeah. So it makes sense. And honestly, even the front door situation, like it may swing instead of slide, but at least when I buy front doors or interior doors for that matter, the door comes, board on the hinge, on the frame with the trim even. And it's just like, if you prepared the opening correctly, slide it in place and level, plumb, and make sure it operates, and then leave that 1/16 of an inch so that when the paint thickness adds on, it's not rubbing. Like it's not, it's not rocket science.
It's not. But it's just having the people who pay attention to details every single day, having the installer who wants to come in and do a great job every single day. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
That really separates.
How many rolls of window tape do you guys go through?
So again, we don't do much new construction, so we're really not using a ton of window tape. When you do a retrofit, retrofit, you're using a closed cell foam insulation around, and then we replace rotten brick mold with PVC.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll do full if they want, like full PVC, but generally we'll just do
It's the way to
partial.
go.
and then do our aluminum trim coil. So people.
What if the customer, like, and this is just the example on somebody, the way their house is built. What if, like, it is just easier to pop off the existing 1x4 trim on the outside, and boom, right there is your nail fin, and you could just pop it out and put in a new construction style window. Like, will your manufacturer, well, you are your own manufacturer, will you manufacture them with a fin, or will you still just do it the other way that you just mentioned?
If it was easier, then we. That's an interesting question.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've just not come across it. But like, let's go a vinyl sided home. Like just
like
standard,
this house is probably a good example.
Yeah, like this house, like you're gonna have a nailing flange. You've got the attached J channel already, like the integrated J already on your units, I believe, is what I saw.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's attached, but there is the J channel.
The J channel, yeah. Sometimes they're integrated, sometimes they're not. So generally, what we would do is cut back your siding, or just pull off your siding, cut the window out. Or just pull it out because you've obviously got the window tape, the wrap, all of that. So either cut it out or pull it out and then install that way. But using that closed cell foam insulation all the way around, and then capping it with aluminum is how we would generally do
How
that.
would you guys go about doing a house that has no trim, and because it's brick siding? Because we see a lot of brick around here, and it's like, for me, I've been called out and have successfully done a few window swaps, but it's just a different animal, mostly the meticulous nature of measuring them, because like you have no wiggle room. You have no we could rip the 1x4 to 1 3/4. Like, nope, it's got you got a wedge in between a brick opening. We're not getting a chisel. Yeah. So, and then also you don't have even access to lapping the plastic house wrap or even getting tape in there. So it's just it's a slightly different animal, and there's a lot of brick down here.
Yeah. So with that, so you're talking a house with like a wooden sill and wood brick mold in between the brick?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'd replace that brick mold as needed. So we wouldn't take it all the way back to the frame. So essentially not do a full frame tear out.
Okay. And then you would just go in with like sash kits?
It's not a sash kit. Just put that whole new window inside that old opening going up against the, essentially the new or the existing interior stop.
Oh, so you just lose like 3/4 of an inch on each side, if that.
Maybe. So with our old window, about an inch on each side is what you
Not bad at
lost.
all.
No, but we just released a new version of our window. It's called Insignia, is the brand name.
Lower profile.
And we've got a thinner profile. And so essentially one of our, biggest upgrades that we've gone to, or one of the biggest features we have now is that out of like the vinyl products in our class, we have the highest efficiency ratings possible, and we have the most amount of glass space at the same time. And people hate losing glass.
Yeah, of course.
Anytime you replace your windows and you don't do a full frame tear out, you're going to lose some glass, no matter Marvin, Anderson, Pella, us, anybody. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so just, really mitigating that.
Yeah, the
loss.
only way is if you treat it like new construction, where you you get an order with a nail, you get a window ordered with a nailing fin, and you cut back whatever layers are in the way to get to the current window's nailing fin and pull it out. And the only reason I'm going to say I'm a fan of that is only because I then get a visual on the framing around the window. And then again, that's not any negative on y'all. I see you nodding, agreeing, but you then get to just check that framing hasn't been, that it's not sawdust, that it's not rotted or black, or, because termites, because at the end of the day, when you've paid me whatever the amount of money is to replace whatever the amount of windows are, one 2x4 is $4 extra. If we're already, everything's open and we're like, oh, this is rotted, let's go replace that.
And it's probably half a 2x4. So
yeah,
it's like 2 bucks.
exactly. It's like it'll take longer to go to the store and buy the 2x4 than it will to saw out that 2-foot rotted section and just nail in a new section. And so that's like my one caveat where I would be like, okay, maybe that's not the best way. But even the way I phrase that is not correct. Like, that is the best way. It's just not everybody wants you to rip out that. Not everybody wants that for their home. Some people might be like, everything is great. I just want a cosmetic change, or I know that these aren't as efficient for my power bill and everything else is good.
Right.
So you guys come in and we'll be in and out in a day. Boom. You know, give us 4 weeks to get you the windows in, and then we schedule you.
Yep.
Done.
And the the saving grace with that too is, or not the saving grace, but the caveat to that is I have had customers, hey, like, I want to see that 2x4 underneath there. Okay, so let me replace the sills. I'll cut out all your sills. We can leave the brick mold on the sides. We can look at the bottom, and then I can install new sills.
Yeah.
And you don't lose, I don't have to do the flange or anything like that with that sill.
Yeah.
So I can replace that sill. And at any time, and that's one of the things that our customers really love too, is that we replace rotten wood for free. So I'm not going to go around the, house and look at every, sill and every brick mold and count the pieces I need and, calculate how much there's too much time wrapped up in that.
But also, the max for a window is these 4 pieces of
these 4 pieces. That's it. That's the absolute max.
If 3 studs into the wall is rotted, that's a different customer. It's a different contract. Yeah, exactly. We got to. You need somebody to cut your wall open and replace your studs, and then
my guys can do that, but
that's not what you want to do.
Right. We're going to make a whole lot more money doing a whole day of window installation than messing around with this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And with our guys, again, only having one crew. Like, we've been able to keep that 8-man crew busy 5 to 6 days a week for 2 years. Like, 0 days that they didn't have work when they wanted to.
That's incredible.
And so, like, we're, definitely, like, have, the business, enough business. But, we want to, like we talked about, bring on, siding. So, if we, need a sub, maybe we do that.
Like, all my subs are not exclusively mine. I don't have enough work to keep them. Like, it's just that simple. Very few GCs do.
Right.
You could just have a full-time electrician.
Exclusive.
Electrician. Like, he's got other stuff going on.
Right.
He's got a lot of other jobs. He's doing an entire, like, 5-story, 30+ unit, like, condo in downtown Durham.
Yeah.
That's a payday for him.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting paid, and like, I was on vacation when he got that job,
Right.
But at the same time, when somebody calls me with a tiny little bathroom remodel and I need him to give me a price for 2 fans, add an outlet, and blah, 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 he's right there for me.
There you go.
So, I would love to get enough work where I could keep somebody like Ray working full time. Like, if I had, enough little carpentry projects, big decks and framing and stuff where I was like, Ray, you're just now mine. Right. Like, I can get you 5 days a week from 8 to 4, and I've got, 3 months are booked out and it's going to keep coming in. But even still, if I got to that point, I still don't think I'm going to have a on payroll electrician or plumber.
Right.
Like, that means I need that many jobs that also have plumbing. Like, what if you just need a deck or a window? There's no plumbing. There's no electrical. There's no HVAC, So, I still don't think I'd ever get in a position where I had, like, those guys on my staff.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool to have, like, my laborers who are like, you just don't need to answer the phone call to John and Jane GC. I got you, man. Let them find another dude. Like, let's go build some stuff.
There you go.
But at the same time, when I need Ray, he's there. At most he's a week out. He's framing something. Or doing some siding. He does a lot of siding, man. That dude does Hardy. I swear he eats it. Like, van will show up full and it's gone. I'm like, where did this all go?
Yeah.
Does he have I needed lunch. What's that?
Does he have a crew that works with him?
Yeah, he's got guys. Yeah.
He's got a big, decent little crew.
Mostly it's him, one guy, and his kid, but his kid's like 19, so he's a full-on worker. But
there you
like,
go.
Yeah, I mean, I had him do, up the street, I had him doing a window replacement for me. And I think the whole job took maybe like 4 or 5 days, but there was way more like rotted actual studs than you guys would even touch. And we had to re-trim out all of the inside with wood that we had to go re-buy, and then trim out all the outside with like new J channel, new PVC, and then my guys who are separately had to come and paint all that.
Right.
So like a little bit longer than your 1 day install, but you know, probably cheaper.
Yeah, could be. Now, in terms of windows, that's one thing I love about aluminum and vinyl is that we never have to paint our windows.
Right.
And so window companies, I mean, I don't know what you charge, but not window companies, painting companies, but I've heard they're charging anywhere from $100 to $150 per window to paint.
This was just the trim, not
Okay,
the window.
trim.
The window was a white vinyl, no paint.
Right. Well, and I'm talking the trim around it too. With our aluminum cladding, it comes pre-finished in whatever color you want. And
See, this was that would have been impossible because like you can't get like we had to buy a 1x6 PVC and rip it to like a very weird number and tack that up.
Yeah. Well, my guys bend it on site, so they can bend it to whatever size they need to. So they're, I mean, and that's one of the things that they do so well that I'm just really blown away by is how well these guys work with metal.
Yeah.
Because they bend it with the actual bevel in it, just like your brick mold does. They put it through what's called a brake buddy, and that bends that metal to have that same profile.
Yeah. My guy Martine has that machine because a lot of the houses in Durham, they use this metal siding that doesn't exist anymore.
Aluminum siding. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. They use aluminum siding that doesn't exist anymore. And so the only way is to like buy aluminum a little wider and bend it.
Yep.
And so my boy Martine, whenever we need that, I'm like, you're the only one I know that can like take raw metal and make it look like we got this from the store. And he's like, I know, that's why I do this. And I'm like, cool. See this one little box? I need you to make it happen. He's like, okay, $300. I'm like, great. You just saved me re-siding a house for $8,000. Like, let's go.
That's
you know,
huge.
Yeah, and then we can just paint it. You know, like donezo. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess in this particular case, instead of PVC, we still would have had to rip some sort of lumber down to a weird size, and then you could have bent the aluminum over it for no paint.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a no paint finish. And that's like just kind of that maintenance freedom, right?
Yeah.
Like most people aren't good at maintaining their house.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do. And so
it's actually very easy. People are just lazy, but we'll disagree on that.
Right. Well, I think people overextend themselves with life, not necessarily.
That's true.
There is a good group that are lazy, but some of the houses I'm going into, they've got 4 kids and base in this and that and the other, and they do have the money. So again, I guess it comes down to lazy. They've got the money to address
I'll
it,
die
but
on
they
this
just
sword.
don't.
Yeah, I'll die on this sword.
I just talked myself into agreeing with you.
Yeah, because like
if they've got the money to fix it,
if you want to
choose, addressed it earlier.
But also, like, if you want to choose a life where you rent, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to choose a life where you own, guess what? Part of owning is homeowners insurance and maintenance. Like, that's part of owning a home. If you want to pretend that that's not there, you're a lazy idiot. But like, it's a thing. You have to maintain your home. You don't just drive a car and ignore the oil changes.
No. Well,
like,
some people do.
Right. And then the car breaks and they're lazy idiots. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the same. Like, you gotta, if you don't brush your teeth, they're going to fall out. Like, you got to wake up and brush your teeth. Like, it's just part of the deal. It's part of getting the privilege of having teeth. If you have the privilege to be a homeowner, guess what? Flush the water heater once a year. It's not that hard.
Yep.
It's not that hard. Or put in your calendar and hire a handyman to do it. I'll do it. You'll do it. You'll know the guy who does it. Somebody like it. We're out here.
Yep, we definitely are.
You know,
you got a good point there.
Sure. And I detailed an entire episode with Chris Hawks and Stacy Sloan. Chris Hawks is a rental agent with Weston Woodall, and Stacy Sloan is a realtor with EXP or Keller Williams, excuse me. And we did almost 3 hours where the three of us sat in here and we were like, okay, top to bottom, out to in. Let's go over everything you got to do.
Yeah.
Everything. Down to emptying the crumb drawer and the bottom of your toaster. Like, you got to do it. But like, simple things. And a lot of it is just go look at stuff. Like window specifically.
Yeah.
Maintenance on a window is visually check them every year. Check for cracks.
Yep.
Check for caulking opening up. Check for functionality. Like, just keep checking it. Like, if everything is working and there's no water where there shouldn't be and there's no cracks and everything operates flawlessly, like, That's your window maintenance. When you notice something, then you diagnose why. Like, oh, this trim moved. Let me fill this gap with caulk. Now I don't have a water leaking problem. A year later, the crack got bigger. Okay, something's moving. What's moving? The wall's moving. The wall's attached to the footer. The footer's moving. Maybe go check out the crawl space. You might have water messing with your footer. Maybe it's getting through the crawl space. But like, you can very quickly follow the tiny thing to the big thing and just get it fixed. Yep. But again, if you want to pretend it's no maintenance, you need to rent an apartment.
Yeah.
Or get a place with a serious HOA.
Right.
Which you'd have to shoot me. I would never. Oh, I hate HOAs with such a passion. Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
I'm right there too.
Yeah. It's like so.
A couple big projects being held up by HOAs.
I bet.
Right now, like $100,000 in business.
I've had fences come to full stop.
Oh, yeah.
After approval. After approval from HOA, I've had full stop. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it'll be like, some neighbors complain. I'm like, dude, this is insane. We're building a wood fence. We're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Like, it's a wood fence. There's 3 styles. Just like, it's, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I could only imagine, man. I've been dealing with this lady. She's very nice. We've emailed probably 7 times back and forth where she wants, like, she doesn't want anything. Her HOA, through her, wants me to give her the most minuscule, minute details.
Gotta love it.
This railing is 3 feet long. And it's for a landing that's low enough you don't need a rail by code.
Yeah.
Like, what is it, 37 inches or whatever it is, if your deck's that high? It's something around
like
there. There's a range, it's like 32 to 38 or whatever, where you then need a rail. This is low enough you don't need a rail. I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, what do you want me to tell you? It's too cheap for a permit. There's no structural. We're going to screw 1 post into concrete with a standard Simpson tie post base. We'll paint it all white to match. We'll do it all out of pressure treated. We'll do it like the picture. ... We'll comply with NC code. I was like, what more do you need for 3 feet of rail?
That's crazy.
It's mind boggling. It's mind boggling. But this is just like, somebody retired from a real job and got a part-time job with an HOA, and they love this power.
Oh yeah.
They think it makes them cool. And it's like, you morphed into a Karen and you don't even care.
No.
Like, it's hilarious. Yeah. I've never had an HOA, and I will never have an HOA. I don't know if you've got one.
I've never had one. I got lucky. My place, no HOA, so it's nice.
I didn't have one here, and the house I'm building is like out in the sticks. So like I'll be on 11 acres with no one around.
That's awesome.
I'm going the opposite direction.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I actually didn't have to deal with the HOA with this one friend turned client turned friend, whatever. But I like retiled the whole first floor of his townhome in Durham, and the horror stories he would tell me of the HOA, like even the way that they would like talk to him if he forgot to bring his cans in one day, like the garbage cans or something. Oh, yeah. It's like this is just unnecessary.
Oh,
it's just not required. Like, I'm not even like a crazy, like, no government intervention, crazy, like, Republican person. But at the same time, like, I pay my taxes. Leave me alone. Like, right. Come on, man. Like, it's not like I'm rebuilding a transmission in the driveway.
Right.
It's like, just leave me alone, man. Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
Oh, I deal with it a ton. I mean, because I'm in and out of so many different neighborhoods. And
I mean,
the horror stories.
You're doing high-end window replacement. You're literally primarily in HOA neighborhoods, very expensive areas that people pay. They want that HOA to make sure those houses look that pristine.
Yep.
And then you've got to get just work being done approved, color match approval, grid approval, size approval.
How are you going to park in the neighborhood?
How are you going to park? Where's the dumpster going to go? What's your permit look like? What's your timeline? Do your guys have your shirts tucked in? It's like, it's just such an unnecessary oversight.
Yeah. Like you said, some people like that, So if
I mean, I get liking how nice the neighborhood looks.
Right.
But It's also like you kind of just get that when you move to that price point, you know?
Oh, you definitely do.
You know?
Yeah.
You guys worked in the Governor's Club at all?
We've got, I think, 2 houses.
Yeah.
Over
I mean, that's the top. You made it to the
Club.
top right there as far as I'm concerned. The Governor's, I mean, that's like multi-million-dollar houses, and they really don't let just anybody work there.
Right.
Yeah. I personally have never worked in the Governor's Club, but I've heard horror stories from my plumber that make me just not even want to.
Not even want to go.
Yeah, because he's like, you could just do it flawless, and they'll pick it apart. And it's like, well, if it's flawless, they can't pick it apart. And he's like, no, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I've done bad work that should be picked apart, and I've done flawless work that gets picked apart. And the Governor's Club will just pick it apart. Doesn't matter. They just want to pick it apart. They live to pick it apart.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm not working there. Like, or I got to charge an asshole fee. Like, I got an extra pick apart fee.
Yeah, I have to talk to my guy, see if he dealt with anything on that.
It's a little different with windows than like a bathroom remodel.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because you're like actually inside the home, and they're going to like pee at that toilet every day. Like, you know, there's a certain amount of window, like, okay, is it the same size? Cool. Is it the right color? Cool. Is it leaking? No? All right. Well, here's a check.
90% of the customers, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got the other 10% who, they'll, like you said, they'll try to pick apart great work.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you just got to do it with a happy face and, you know, address whatever they want you to address. And, you know.
And then another great thing about the way that you guys do your the way you've chosen to operate with your install is you don't have to deal with inside trim other than a sill.
We don't even have to replace the sill most of the time.
Yeah.
The inside. Yeah.
Unless it just happens to be rotted, and you do that
if
for
the
free.
rot comes on the inside, then we'll do that for free. Or really the most common thing, dogs.
Yeah.
Chewing up sills.
Yeah, which is not a rot issue.
No.
Yeah.
But so like you guys want us to replace it, we'll replace it for you. But I'm definitely not doing that for free.
No, absolutely not.
And so,
yeah.
But so I mean, we don't really do the most interior trim we do is on all of our doors. You know, on interior doors.
Yeah, I guess that makes
doors.
sense.
Everything comes out. The trim.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We
that's
do
a good point.
interior trim around doors, and then we'll periodically make new openings for people. So if there's not a window here and you want a window to be here, my guys can cut out, frame, and install, a new window right there.
Okay, and then so in that case, you
would have to go
would do a sheetrock return and a little paint, or
we would do a sheetrock return, but we would not paint it.
You would not paint, okay.
Yeah, and let them know, hey, up front, like our guys, do the install, but they're not finishers.
Right, it'll be ready to paint.
Ready to
from
paint. So
after,
just because it's a long process to drywall.
Yeah.
Let it dry, sand.
Yeah. No, that's why my window project took 5 days, because on the inside of all the windows, we had to do a little bit of drywall repair, a little bit of trim repair, and I'll paint everything. Not the window itself, but everything else.
All the trim, right?
Yeah, all the trim. And we one of them was particularly crazy because we managed to pop the trim off and not break it. So we were like, cool, let's just throw it right back on. But something happened with the sill where it was like not big enough, so we had to like put in blocking, put the sill back down, and then put like trim underneath. And it was funny, for like one day we had like trim that was wood, like finished wood, and then like a piece of homosote, and then a piece of pine, and then a piece of PVC. And for one day, it was like 6 different pieces of thing. And I was
man.
just wait till it gets painted. Just wait. Well, promise, I'll take a picture tomorrow. Like
the
just wait.
Frankenstein window.
It was a Frankenstein trim for sure. Oh yeah. And in this particular job, because it was literally 6 doors up, there were a lot of times where the guys were like, "Shit, man, we need like 3 extra feet of 1x3," and I'm like, "I'll be right back." Go to my house. I'm like, "I got an extra one. Here we go." Like, no charge. Just get it. Just go. Like, just get this done. Like, I'm sick of doing this job.
I understand those.
Yeah. So, it sometimes it's just whatever it takes.
Oh yeah.
So primarily, as far as I usually ask people this question, but I feel like I can answer it as far as like the primary customers, like 8 or more windows or openings.
Right.
If it was if it was 8 doors, you'd do it.
If it's 2 or 3 doors, I'll do 2 or 3 doors because it's a bigger ticket item.
Okay. But windows, it's 8 minimum.
It's an 8 minimum, or I can do 2 or 3 windows and a door, or and so we've actually gotten a little bit more flexible on that, and so that was a rule that we brought from our national headquarters.
Okay,
in
gotcha.
Indianapolis. So when I started with this company for my first 4 years until I got the opportunity to join, Raleigh and run my own franchise. It was an 8-unit minimum. And that being the rule because we don't have any pre-manufactured windows on top of, everything else that I just told you, and only having one line, so all of them have to be, custom ordered. And so not only do, I, the salesperson, have to drive out there, but I have to drive out there, put together a work order, turn that work order, and my office ladies, have to do paperwork to process that, build a packet, put it in the system, and then my senior master installer passes it off to my measure technician. Then my measure technician calls you to schedule to come out and get exact measurements down to the 1/8 of an inch. And then we come back, we build that order, and then we order it. If we're doing all of that for 2 windows all across the city, it's a ton of output and, just not a ton of input. And so, like, we would run ourselves into the ground trying
I'm
to
so
do
glad
that.
I have nothing you just mentioned in terms of overhead.
In terms
it's me.
Of that's nice.
It's
when
me.
When you've got no overhead.
Believe it or not, I can measure a window. No, I'm just fucking with you.
Well, and I can, but I'm not going to measure 40.
No,
Yeah,
obviously.
and get them all right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to, big custom ones and this, that, and, 4-panel doors and this, that, and the other. I could learn it all. But again, just, trying to go do it at scale. Like, just one person can't do it at scale.
Yeah.
And so that's really where we separate ourselves from our real competitors, Pella, Anderson, Kelly, Marvin, any, large window company, is that they all have massive amounts of overhead in advertising.
Right. Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you talked about lead generation. Lead generation is so expensive.
That's why I haven't done it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most people don't. We just hired a guy from the solar industry for our sales team, and he said they were spending about $3,000 per lead.
That's insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And so for us, we're a referral-based business, have
Yeah.
been since we opened back in 1998. So 25 years worth of, just referral-based business activity. We've gotten really good at driving referrals.
Yeah.
And that's what it's the name of the game for, for a guy like you, a guy like, us or me, is driving referrals, getting like finding a way to get your customers to talk about you and to tell other people about you. And that's all, kind of through we do a lot of direct marketing. So we actually approach people at their home and knock on their door.
Yeah, I've had somebody tell me I need to do that, and I'm just like, I don't know if I have the hours to do, like, that much door knocking, but it's something I've considered. I'm like thinking about maybe like printing up a pamphlet or something like that. I just made a website, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. What I would recommend then, if you don't feel like you have the hours, is door hangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something you can hang on the front of someone's door and do the 5 closest houses to whoever you just worked on. Because I've got a general contractor that just feeds me window leads, like probably 10 a year, and they're all high quality leads. He just works in his zip code. I'm like, can you come down to my house, do 2 bathrooms? I'm not touching it. He's like, I'm not leaving my zip code.
What zip code are we talking about here?
It's Raleigh 27613.
I know a guy.
I do too. So,
especially for a bathroom. Ooh,
right.
I got you. Yeah.
But yeah, so he said no on that. Like, he literally just doesn't leave his zip code. And he's got tons of people out there just, spreading the word about who he is. But our biggest one is Nextdoor. So
I love Nextdoor.
Having your client share their experience on Nextdoor and give them like $100 off, or give them not $100 off, give them a gift card. Like, after you put a post up, I'll give you $100 gift card to wherever. But if that generates you 1 lead, you've made your $100 back.
Yeah, oh, yeah, totally.
And so I pay people $500 per referral.
Nice.
Like, any of my, anyone in my network, like, send them my way. If they get, at least 8 units installed, I'll cut you a check for $500 per referral. And then that same with that customer. Once my windows are installed, pay $500 per referral, and incentivize people to do that. Ask them to post on Nextdoor, leave us a Google review, and then, share anywhere else that you have a following. So
yeah, I just got like heavy into like making sure that all my customers are leaving me reviews. I figured out how to link them. So like I just did this carport, and she just wrote like the most amazing review.
Oh yeah.
And it like, it pops up on Google. I just learned you got to reply to that shit. So I'm replying to them.
Yep.
And then I check my Facebook and it's on my CRS Contracting Durham page. And I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. It just talks to each other. And I was like, oh, like, share, love, like, oh, cool. Like I didn't have to do that. So yeah, I just like, just like 2 or 3 months ago, not even like 2 months ago. Yeah. I just for the first time hired a marketing person who basically is running all my social media.
There you go.
And we had a meeting yesterday and I was like, I like what you're doing, but the payment ends next month if you don't get me how much I have to pay you in revenue. Cause it's not working, man. Yeah. I was like, everybody already knows me as liking posts you make.
Right.
That's not bringing me shit, man. I was like, I literally told him, I was like, you got to add Nextdoor. You got to start putting these posts on Nextdoor.
Yeah.
And like figuring out the SEOs on Google, because nobody's going to Facebook and searching bathroom remodel. They're going to Google and they're searching bathroom remodeler. Yep. So like, the Google
SEO is huge. And another thing that I would suggest is if, you have some time, have you ever heard of the app called Thumbtack?
Yeah.
Trying that out. My business partner, he was just looking for a contractor to do some concrete, for him. So he got on there Thursday night at like around 11 p.m. and had 4 quotes scheduled by Friday at noon to come, quote him on concrete. And so he said that there was a lot of people, on there looking for, just random, little things, odds and ends. So, given that like no job's too small.
Yeah. It's amazing how many Facebook groups I'm in where somebody will post like, oh, I need somebody to come and tile this bathroom. And then you go to the comments and it's like, there's 75 comments with just somebody who wrote a phone number.
Right.
And I'm like, you don't even have the time to write, hey, I'm Corbett. I'm a Durham contractor. I'd be happy to do your tile. Call my cell. Like, you don't have time to write that.
Right.
I was like, I'm at least going to write that.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. But then also, the back of my mind is like, why is this person not on Google? Why are they on Facebook?
Right.
Like, this is the wrong spot to be searching for this.
Well, people don't like asking Google because it's an overload of information. And I actually saw some data
that's a good point.
That the data is getting worse and worse because there's so much data out there that they're getting like the actual, like what people are looking for isn't as high up as it used to be because the data is getting, more and more overloaded.
Where are you getting this information? From an AI that's run by Google? No.
I don't think they'd be trashing their own company.
It's ChatGPT.
But it was I can't remember where I was reading it at.
I only asked because 3 episodes ago, when this comes out, it will have already come out. But right now, it's not out. 3 episodes ago, I had a Google specialist on.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why I'm curious because if you talk to her, obviously you need to spend all your time on Google. Make sure your SEOs are correct and reply to everything and make sure your pictures are good and blah blah blah.
I don't think those things are wrong.
Yeah.
And those are what she said and what I just said can be one and the same. That right now I agree that definitely Google is the number one place to go. But 10 years ago, Nextdoor didn't exist.
Yeah, 100 Thumbtack wasn't around. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so those I remember like Nextdoor and Thumbtack, really kind of coming to fruition in like 2016, 2017, 2018 is when I started seeing that stuff pop up. But I think as right now, obviously Google's on top, but they're not going to be on top forever.
It's so crazy how it changes from industry to industry because like you and I, we're basically the same industry. It's Google. Yeah, but like. My friend who's a tattoo artist, she needs Instagram.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nothing.
You do one fire video that gets a couple 100,000 clicks, you're good. Like she told me she did, a week of like, hey, I posted 3 times a day. I made sure there was a reel. Something changed with the algorithm, and I have more work than I know what to do with. And I was like, can you do that for me? And she was like, I could try, but it's a little bit different in your world. And I was like, man, what the hell? But it's like, yeah, she's one of those people that's like, well, tattoos are appointment only. And so she's one of those people where like, she'll throw on her Instagram, hey, my books are opening tomorrow. And then tomorrow will come, her books will open, and in an hour they're full.
There you go.
And she's like, I can only mentally book 3 months in, so look for a post in 3 months when the books open again, and they fill up.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I was like, if I did 3 months as heavy as you do, I could take the rest of the year off.
Right.
Like it's insane. Like it's just a different level, at $150 an hour.
Right. It definitely
Yeah,
is.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But, yet here we are like, man, we need more SEOs. I'm like, whatever the crap. Like, it's so funny how it's a completely different industry and, also a different age clientele and price point,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my customers are 40 plus.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been in the house. They're going to be there for a long time, or I'd say it's kind of stretching down into the mid 30s now.
But lower than that, nobody's A, got money for a home, or B, they just got into a home and that stretched them so thin they have no money for repairs. Or they're renting. So it's like, I'd love new windows, but I'm not
I don't know
renting.
the house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So most of the people that I run into who would hire me are like, well, I'd love to redo the bathroom, but not in my rental.
Right.
Or we know this is like our temporary home, so even though we own it, like we're already thinking about the one in a couple of years. We're not putting any money into this house. And I'm like, I respect that, but it's like not helping me pay the bills next month.
Exactly.
So it's frustrating. But yeah, there's very few people our age are even homeowners. I mean, I'm 32. Right. How old are you?
32.
There you go. So like we are homeowners, and we're definitely the minority.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, none of my friends own a home, except for the few who got married real young, and it's because they have the two income of a couple that they have a home,
able to afford one.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. I mean, it was more common, I guess, for me in Indiana, just because property values out there were like my first house I bought was in 2014, like right as soon as I got out of the Army. I got out of the Army in 2014. So for an acre, 1,200 square foot brick ranch, three quarters of the acres was fenced in, $85K.
It's like that's a third of an acre raw lot in Durham if you could find it.
If you can find it, right? Yeah. I was gonna say half acre raw lots in Raleigh
they don't exist.
Yeah. They're just they're like over $100,000.
Yeah.
125, 150, something like that. So $85,000.
That's crazy.
And it was a 60s
and like move in ready.
Ranch. Yeah. I mean, I got a little bit of a deal on it. I bought it from a contractor who was flipping it that didn't want to finish flipping it. But like, yes, absolutely moved in ready, just not a great house. I mean, it needed new windows, which, I ended up getting done with Apex, shortly after that. But yeah, I mean, beyond the windows, the rest of it was just like cosmetic stuff that you would want to fix here or there.
It's crazy. I just looked at a lot in Franklinton. It was really not that far. It's like 40-minute drive, but it's got a house that it's not even a conversation to save it. Like the conversation was, do we rent a bulldozer or call the fire department to burn it and use it as practice? Like, it's so far gone.
Can you do that?
100%.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
It's very cool. No, they actually want them.
I would see why.
They actually want them. Yeah, no, they'll light it on fire. Like they'll bring, extra trucks and extra guys and all that shit to make sure that like they don't have a real problem. But then they'll use it as like training. Yeah. It's super cool. So in my town of tiny, tiny little Highland, New York, actually, I guess I should clarify. Highland is not a real place. Like the fire department is town of Lloyd, which is like a bigger, anyway, the fire department once a year in their massive parking lot, they would light 2 cars on fire and put them out and train. And then they would give them to the Highland Bazaar, which was like the tiny little town circus that they would put on once a year. And they'd put them in the parking lot. And for like $5 or $10, you got like 5 hits with a sledgehammer.
There you go.
And you could just go to town on this car.
Right.
Yeah. Just like windows, panel, everything. Just, it's like, or maybe it was like $2, 5 swings or something. Yeah. It's like, well, they're already garbage, trashed, burnt cars that the town owns. So it's like, I don't even know how much money, but it must have been such a cash cow.
Oh yeah.
But again, looking at this lot, with Connor, because we were thinking like this would be a great, like, burn this house down, divide this in half, and put 2 tiny homes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they want over $100K, and the lot is like thick woods that has to be cleared.
Mm-hmm.
The driveway is dirt, so we need to cut a driveway, and we have to remove an entire house that needs to be burnt. I was like, this needs to be $50K. We got to put $50K into this just to make it a buildable lot.
Right.
It's insane, you know. And you're talking about getting a whole house for $82,000.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Just what's happened in the last. Not even 10 years. Well, yeah, it's been right at 10 years since
10 years. I mean, 10 years is a lot. I can use 10 years for this particular house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I bought this for $175. I'm on a half acre.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not talk about what I've done to the house.
Right.
But just like appraisal, tax value, just what you think. Like, I could probably sell $450, $500.
Right. Yeah. No problem.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
It is.
crazy. And I mean, I don't know if that exact same situation happened in the town that you're from. The
Definitely
triangle is
not.
booming in a different way.
Not there. So I sold that house like for roughly not quite double, like 3 years later.
That's crazy. That's amazing, though.
But yeah, like so. I put a good amount of money into it. The windows. I put a new driveway, which, man, I wish I had a concrete guy here because my buddies helped me with that. So
I got
the
concrete
labor
guys.
was free. I paid $1,000 for a new driveway.
Yeah.
$1,000. That's it.
I think I did my driveway extension over there for like $650.
$650.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
and that's like a car and a half length.
Right.
Where the little car is parked, that it was not that wide when I bought this house. That I built that whole carport that didn't exist.
Up front.
That whole thing didn't exist. The
That's
driveway was not as wide. That gravel parking space wasn't there. Like that's three different projects that you're looking at all as one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when we get off here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. As I mentioned, I've got the other work, so I'll kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'll kind of.
Well, I mean,
show you
now you just text me, man. I got subs galore. If it's not a window job you're already doing and you need a different dude, that's what I'm here for.
Good deal.
Yeah. Even the people I was meeting with today, they got some design build firm that we're trying to keep no negative stuff, so I'm not going to mention them.
Yeah.
But they got their design fee, and then they told them it would cost like $560,000 to do everything they wanted. And I was like, I'm pricing my own home, and it's going to cost me about that much to build it. So are you lining the floor with gold? Like, what's happening? I was like, I don't understand.
Where does that
I'm
money
confused.
come from?
Yeah. And she was like, we're confused. And every time we ask them, they're like, we specifically put it in our contract that like we don't have to be transparent or whatever about like what cost what. And I was like, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I got an idea. How about we just sit down and go over it? And I was like, just pulling rough numbers out of my head from my experience. I was like, well, the drywall can't cost more than this. The framing package can't cost more than this.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, I'm at like 267 or something. I was like, even if I'm off by 12%, which most of my numbers are over because I like to come in under. I was like, we're still 200,000+ less than the number they gave you. I was like, so add $15K for you to go buy all your own fixtures and tile. I was like, I was like, there's no way. And she was like, honestly, just seeing you break it down was worth having you come out just so we could further understand. I was like, well, that's what you get with me. I've just the transparency's at 100. I was like, I don't know another way to do it. Right.
Yeah.
But it's that's something that you guys don't have to deal with because you're just like, look, the window cost X, the labor costs Y. There are only two numbers. This is what it costs.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I don't even break out my labor and my windows. So there's one number because I don't sell them to anybody. So this is what it costs to get it done. And so.
But I'm sure if a customer was like, what is material versus labor, you could break it in two numbers.
A quick breakdown.
Yeah,
I could give them a quick
difficult,
breakdown.
and you wouldn't be like, that's proprietary information.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But,
and I tried to walk them through. I was like, well, you got to think of this company as two different companies. One company very much did their job. They charged you $20,000 for this design to get these plans. It cost them $4,000. They made $16,000. They had a great day. And then the other side of the company was like, okay, if we did this all super worst case, most expensive scenario, it's 400, add our administration fee is 20 grand plus 100 just in case. And that's where you get the like 520 or whatever the hell it was. And they probably don't care as much if they get the job because they got like a large chunk of change on the design. I was like, they kind of already got, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really two companies, like the design, whereas I was like, I wouldn't even design this for you. I would have given you a phone number to a designer and a phone number to a draftsman. And like you as a customer would have had to do like 2% more work, but it would have cost you a third because I would have handed you the person to draw and design it at no markup and been like, once you get plans from them, come back to me and let's price it. And then let's get you a permit. I was like, there's no, like, I don't have that overhead. I don't have that giant team of people.
Right.
So it's like, I definitely was like, you're being taken to the cleaners, but I tried to at least like elaborate on the mindset of the company and be like, one side of that company just did what you asked. Right. And the other side of that company is like, how do we cash this in? And you're being smart by calling me to double check this.
Right.
And
when opinion.
Yeah.
And just because you don't, as the customer, don't see the value in it doesn't mean it's overpriced.
That's a very good point.
Right. Because if they have to price themselves that high to not be overrun with business, then that's what they have to do.
Right.
So, if that pricing keeps them, installing at the rate at which they want, then they're priced fine. I mean, my biggest, like, to not throw shade on anybody, but my biggest competition is Renewal by Anderson. You've heard of Renewal by Anderson, obviously.
I get their mailers every
does.
month.
Everybody does. And that's expensive. And you have to pay for that. Yeah. And they charge about $2,500 per window installed.
Which is insanity.
Insane. And it's double pane. It's not Energy Star qualified. And the warranty is 20 years on the glass and 10 years on everything else. I'm like less than half of that cost per window on average. So less than $1,250 per average on a standard window. True lifetime warranty. And we service it in-house from my Raleigh office forever. And then in terms of the warranty, it's, again, a true lifetime warranty. We cover accidental glass breakage, like pretty much anything, everything. If your dog tears up your screen, I'll come replace your screen for free. You're not going to get that service with a big corporation, and you're going to pay twice the money. Yeah,
it's like aluminum company of Carolina, like great, big, reputable brand.
Yep.
But why are they big? Because you've heard about them. Why have you heard about them? Because they're on every radio. They're in every book. They're advertising at the Bulls game. They're advertising at the Canes game. Yep. Guess what? None of that's free.
No.
So when they come give you a free estimate, they've factored in all of those costs into what we call overhead, which all gets put back on the customer. There's not some super rich billionaire who's like, I'm just going to undercut everybody, spend all my money on advertising, and just lose money every year. Right. Hell no. This is America. Yeah. We are capitalists. That dude is trying to make money. And so when you go to a Bulls game, which I love the Bulls, and you see an advertisement for Baker Roofing, there's a reason Baker Roofing is 20 to 30% more than me. And guess what? The shingles come from the same place.
Yep.
Like we all get them from the same person, ABC or Home Depot. It's not a secret. So what are you paying for?
Yeah.
You're paying for a brand.
Yep.
So like, I'm not even saying you're getting duped, but you're getting duped, unfortunately.
Yeah, depending on what you value. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the Baker Roofing case, you're getting duped because it's the same install with the same. I mean, hell, half of their crews are the same crew I'm using, and you just got a piece of paper with Baker on the top with a warranty. That's just words.
What all do they do outside of roofing? Do they do everything?
I think they do everything. I don't know.
I know
honestly,
they do windows.
I don't know if they do
windows much. So when I first got here, I went up against them maybe 5 to 10 times in that first year, and I've not heard them in like 2 years.
I used to use them for the oddball roofing stuff. So and this is earlier in my career. So like for an example, I got new gutters put on, but there's a 6-foot stretch where it's leaking. and it determined that there was no drip edge. So I'd be like, hey, can you guys just like come out and put on 6 or 7 feet of drip edge? Cool, a couple $100. Or like this house roof is fine, unlike the last one, but we're gonna take a sledgehammer and knock out the chimneys. So I need you to patch 4 foot by 4 foot plywood shingle. Unfortunately, it's 2 layers of shingle, so 2 layers of shingle, make it match, blah blah blah. And they're like, okay, $1,000 or whatever.
Okay.
And for a second, they were very helpful. And then it was actually my carport where I built the whole thing, tar paper, and then I had them come out to quote me the metal. And it was not a little bit, but straight up double than the other person that I ended up using.
Okay.
And I was like, why?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, we have to rip off that tar paper and put on a membrane and the blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I was like, no, you don't. You don't have to do any of that. I was like, just take the gray metal that I'm going to buy and put it on the roof. Like, that's what I want you to do. And twice the price. And I never went back to him.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And I just was like, okay, like, I just don't, like, for all the reasons I aforementioned about, you know, they want to spend that money on advertising. You know, I have done nothing until 2 months ago when I hired a social media dude. I spent zero money on marketing and advertising. Guess what? That means I don't have to work any of that into the price I give you.
Right.
Zero
with
of
an
it.
office and a company truck.
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
Right.
I don't have any of that. When I was a one vehicle person, it was a pickup truck. And I would go out to dinner and go to work in the same pickup truck. Mm-hmm. And then when things turned out to be going really well, I got the little car so I could zip around in that. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, that's what I take for meetings now. Right. If I'm not hauling my chop saw around or need to go pick up a lot of 2x4s, I'll take the little car. Yeah, that electric thing is fast, man. So, but you know, that's me. And I'm not even trying to like shit on big companies. Like Baker Roofing was a one-man band once upon a time. You know, it's not like he woke up one day and was like, I sell mufflers. And then the next day he was like, I have a 60 crew roofing company.
Right.
Like, you know, that it's the definition of the American dream.
Right.
But at the same time, you could do a tiny bit more research and get a smaller band like you or even a smaller band like me. And all that really means is you're going to get some savings.
Yeah, you're going to get a better bang for your buck.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, Baker has the same material cost as me and the same labor cost as me. So everything else from their office to their marketing to their larger internet bill, their larger cell phone bill, their office staff salaries, much larger insurance on multiple vehicles, gas for multiple vehicles. They give free estimates that I don't. So they can do 30 people can be around all day just giving away free estimates because they know they've worked it into the price when they finally get a job.
Yep.
I'm not like that. So for me as a one-man band, you want me to come out and give you a really, really good price that's accurate, that I can stick to for your bathroom remodel? You got to pay me $100. And then if you don't hire me, you know what it costs. If you hire me, I take the $100 off. So it becomes a free estimate, but you know, I can't just go give 50 estimates a day. No. I would make no money. Yeah. And be just burning gas and time and energy. So after every customer I explain that to, they're like, that's fair. Yeah. And I have literally only had one who says, okay, well, we can just not continue the conversation. And he literally even said, he was like, it's super fair, but I report to corporate office and they're not going to approve the $100. Yeah. And I was like, fair, cool. Good thing you called because I'm not going to drive 15 minutes to measure your apartment building's
and then never
window.
Hear back from you.
No, I didn't. You probably did it.
No.
But, you know, and it's like that's cool. That's fine. But, you know, today they were so happy to give me that $100 because I probably saved them $250,000.
Oh, yeah.
But not every job is like this job. Let's be fair.
If they were, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Most of the time when people call me, they have no plans. Right. They have no ideas. And they start with something like, what do you think it would cost to redo this? And I'm like, oh, what kind of tile are we using? And they're like, I don't know, something generic. And I'm like, Well, tile is 49 cents a square foot up to $48,000 a square foot if you want something imported from China or Italy, hand carved. What I was like, you got to pick something. I was like, I have no idea what this would cost. I was like, I could give you a labor cost, and then you're gonna go buy X square feet of tile, and then people get confused. They're like, why can't you give me a whole number? And I'm like, for the reasons I just mentioned, and hence why I gotta charge a little bit for my time. But
Hey, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Nobody in the trade blames me, and nobody who wants real work blames me either. And I actually don't mind the slower trickle. I know, like an hour and a half ago, I was like, I need more work, but I don't mind the slower trickle because the person who's willing to give me that $100 to come out is more serious about the job.
Right.
You know, if I was giving free estimates left and right, people who are not even like ready to pull the trigger would just call me just to get an idea.
Right.
And I'd be like, I will have that phone call with you for free. Sure. I'll spend 10, 15 minutes, an hour on the phone. But if you really want me out there to measure your door, like be prepared to replace the door.
Right.
Otherwise, like you're wasting everybody's time, you know, because I had to call the door supplier, call my carpenter.
Yeah.
If it's a big enough job, call my dumpster guy. You know, I did some work to get you real numbers. Yeah. You know, so but
that's the tough thing, and in our position, or not really the tough thing, but things that you have to either get good at, selling, or you're going to spend a lot of time quoting a lot of people, and not getting anywhere. And we don't, we don't pay our inside, like our sales team, they're 100% commission. And so, if they're, not making sales, they're not making money. And so, you've got to really, be good at what you do and, make sure that you're, actually producing results and sales and, things of that nature.
Yeah, I did something, I guess, almost the equivalent. Once upon a time, I did, I was like parked in front of an Ace Hardware in front of my little table trying to get like solar leads when I lived in California. And I was paid, I think, minimum wage again, and then commission based on like every lead. I got a whopping 0 leads. And after like 2 weeks, I was like, this is the stupidest idea. I was like, you guys have me driving from super wealthy Santa Cruz to super poor Watsonville to an Ace Hardware where I see the same 8 tradesmen every day coming in to buy parts for their jobs. I was like, this is a waste of time. And they like would reimburse me for my gas. I was like, this is a waste. Yeah. And literally like, I think it was probably the same day that they were like, we need to adjust our strategy. I was like, I'm just quitting. Yeah. I was like, you guys have a manager that you don't realize you're not utilizing. I was like, that's what I went to college for, was to manage people. And they're like, well, you got to be really good at generating leads before we can bump you up. And I was like, maybe I'm not a lead gen guy. Maybe I should manage people because that's what I was trained to do. I was like captain of sports teams, scout leader, all the things to manage people. I was like, I'm not a lead generation guy. It's a different skill set. But they refused to have that conversation. They were like, you don't move to that till you do this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go start my own thing. I started a carpentry company.
There you go.
Yeah, Corbett's Custom Carpentry. It doesn't exist anymore. I canceled it. Now it's CRS Contracting. The big boys with the license now.
So, did you start that out of California? Or?
No, I started that here. I started Corbett's Custom Carpentry in California. It was literally just like a business card and Craigslist posting. That's like back then Craigslist posting was free. Yeah. And for some reason, that's where everybody was looking for people to like, I would literally be like, I build decks, fences, anything woodworking. And I get like 6 emails a day. Like, hey, I need a shed, or I have this garage. I want to put like loft storage shelves. I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Yeah. And then, one thing led to another, and I was staining a fence that I had built the week before, and some other carpenter was there to look at the deck that was at the time too advanced for me to repair. And the guy who looked at the deck, was like, man, that's a nice like fence and gate and pergola that you're staining. Who built that? And I was like, I did. And he was like, 25 an hour cash under the table. You want to be my number 2? And I was like, sold.
Yeah.
And he was Sandy. Shout out to Sandy, man. He was a monster. So efficient. He could frame quicker with a hammer than I could with the gun.
That's crazy.
It's just an old school. It's just a different. I mean, when you've been swinging the same exact hammer for 47 straight years, I mean, huge framing nails, 2 hits. The first hit went halfway, and the next hit drove it. Like, done.
It's
Dunzo.
like an extension of his arm.
It's an extension. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And just like the way that he could pick up boards that were so heavy with one arm and make the cut with the other arm while holding the speed square to keep it, like he just repetition. Mm-hmm. And we would do decks like nobody's business. We would do fences even faster because it would literally just be like, okay, we got fencing so down that we didn't even rent power augers. Like, I had the giant 6-foot metal chisel. He had the post hole thing. When one of us got tired, we switched tools because it was a different use of the same arm muscles. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, we're literally string, mark, dig, post and cement against the string. Okay, they're all up. We didn't even scab them. We would just drive away. Mm-hmm. And then the next day we'd come back. It would be dry, and we'd fence in a day, and done. Gone.
Right.
It was nuts how quickly, and everything out there was all redwood. All these decks were redwood. They turned. They were the ugliest gray 2 years later. Right. But for that first 6 weeks, oh my God, they're so pretty. These beautiful, bright red, fresh decks, and like redwood lattice even, and like, even nicer screws, pergolas. There's, check out crsbuilds.com.
There you go.
But no, I mean, it was just, and then I actually remember moving here, and I immediately get a deck job for my brother's business partners. Her and her like husband were wanting to redo their deck, and I'm like, man, why do we keep using this shitty pressure treated, man? We got to put some redwood down, blah, 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 And he's like, dude. After like the 8th time I said it, he was like, this isn't California. Stop it.
Yeah.
It's like,
people don't waste money like that here.
Yeah. Also, the redwood's from California. We're not shipping it in. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
You got a point.
I was like, yeah, okay, touche. Like it was just next to the regular, there's like fence pickets, pressure treated, and then redwood fence pickets right next to each other, almost the same price.
Everywhere. Wow.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Crazy.
No, yeah. The back then it was Pro Build. Now it's like Builder's First Source or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pro Build was like,
Pro Build's still around.
I think they just changed their name to to Builder's First Source.
Oh, like recently?
That was like a couple of years ago.
I might be thinking of someone else.
Or maybe it's both names.
It might be.
I think maybe it's like Pro Build became the like umbrella company, and the actual stores became Builder's First Source, but it's the same. I think it's the same company.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure one of my good friends in Indianapolis, he works for Pro Build.
Okay.
And they could have changed names and didn't tell me, but yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe I could also be screwing it up. Yeah. Either way, yeah. It's like Fiat and every other company. They still all exist, but they're all owned by Fiat now.
Right.
So, but shit, man, gab for hours, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is as good a place as any to wrap it up, I guess. For anybody who isn't going to hire me and needs you to swap out some windows, what's the easiest way for everybody to reach out?
Cell phone, directly to me, 765-247-9799.
There you go. And yeah, for real, like we're not competitors. If you got a rotted window and like the frame is screwed and it's one window, you give me a call. If everything looks beautiful and you need 25 windows swapped, you call Andrew, man. This like we don't need competition. Happens lower. We're at a different level. And as always, CRS Contracting is on all the socials. So is the Orange Hammer Podcast. Please check it out. YouTube, Spotify. And 845-489-6057 or Corb, CORB, at WSDG.com if you want to come on the show, need some work, or want me to talk about something specific. Those are the ways you can reach me. And there you go. Andrew, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, appreciate you having me out, Corbett. It's been a pleasure.
Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely, we will.
Awesome. All right, guys, have a good day. Appreciate you listening. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.